Hey there everyone, it's Joe from Ainslie's Gold Silver Standard Insights for TA Tuesday. It's the 16th of August 2022, TA Tuesday meaning Technical Analysis Tuesday, where I do a little bit of price analysis on gold, silver and one of the cryptos. This week it happens to be Bitcoin. Before we head over to gold, let's do a quick plug for the Ainslie Bullion YouTube channel. youtube.com/Ainslie Bullion. Hit the big red subscribe button right here. Lots of informative content. Plus we have weekly Wednesday bullion specials. We also do spotlights on particular bullion and a lot of really good content. And actually just today we have a new Ainslie Crypto Spotlight as well. That's Branko from the crypto team. He's doing an analysis, a quick fundamental look at a particular crypto that happens to be the Magic token. So check that out as well. I'll put a link above. I'll put all the links below in the info section of the YouTube page and as part of the pinned comment. But lots of content on the channel, so it really does pay to subscribe. Okay, gold. This is priced in US dollars and we're using the tradingview.com website. My deal, if you haven't seen any of my videos before, my deal is I use just very simple support and resistance lines and also trend lines. That's pretty much it. I use a little bit of Fibonacci, a little bit, maybe a bit of Elliott wave here and there, but I try to keep it as simple as possible. And of course, none of this is financial advice, and do your own research and all that sort of stuff. Now, last week, we had been talking, we were hovering around about, it was around about here, we're about 1,000, actually, around about the same price we are right now, $1,784, I think it was, when we did the video. If I add my lines right here, I had put in a horizontal line, this one here, of what I thought would be a temporary sort of local resistance level, around about 1,800 to 1,805 in US dollar terms. And since then we have seen that become that local level of resistance, technically a spike up to I think $1,808, but sort of generally hovering around that $1,800 level. If you pop it onto the 4 hourly, yeah, you can see it's a test of 1,800, a spike above, a failed breakout to spike us, so then a fast move down, and then another test and another test. So that's what, 1, 2, 3, 4 tests of 1,800 or hovering around that, and then it has since so far been a failed move. What happens in the next week? Well, we don't have crystal balls, but let's take a look at where the next price levels could be. This will be a very quick gold analysis because last week I did give my targets moving higher and my targets moving lower. They haven't changed for me, so I'll just quickly highlight those. Let's go back out to the daily. Now what we haven't seen yet is a break above, and it almost did it here. It tried a couple of times to break through this longer term trend line. Long term meaning back in March of this year, where we spiked the double top, and I'll show you the double top right there. There's the top, there's the double top of 2,070 US dollars. We almost broke out, but it was a failed move. So oftentimes from a failed move comes a fast move to the downside. And yep, just sort of hovering in between this level of $1,760 and that $1,800 level. So we're kind of in no man's land at the moment. There is certainly room to move down further. We're at the beginning of a new trading week. So oftentimes, not all the time, but I have found, and maybe you can tell me your different opinion, but I found that when it comes earlier in a week, don't place your bets just straight away, because sometimes you can have a little bit of a fake out. It's like, oh, it's a green week, it's a green day, it's a green, back down. So just bear in mind the beginnings of any particular time frame, whether it's the beginning of a day, the beginning of a new week, the beginning of a new month even, those first few periods can be a little bit of a fake out going in both directions. So am I saying definitely going lower or definitely going higher? No, but the two targets, main targets for the moment, moving lower, you definitely want to see, you would see a level of support right here, because we have yet to previously hit that in the last few days. We did have a downward movement, but it didn't spike down to that $1,760 level. So that's an area of support still for me. Of course, the area of 1,800. Now, as I always often say, the more times you knock on the door, the more likely the door is to open. So if we have, I would suggest if we had another test of the $1,800 level in the next few days, I would suggest that would actually be broken. But we would need to come up to this area first. So we would want to see it to come up to around that $1,800 level. My apologies. And I think, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth time's a charm within the last sort of 7 days, roughly. I think that would be the one which propels it above this trend line. If we were to break above this trend line in the next, let's say, 3 or 4 days, or by the end of this trading week, if we were to break above, you would see a spike above and then usually a retest of the trend line. You don't tend to break above a big major trend line and then just keep going up and up. You do have a revisit at some point. So that's what I think could happen if we were to break up in the next few days. And breaking down, as I said, I think the support there would be at 1,760. Breaking below that, I think you'd be looking at this trend line right here. So you'd be around about your kind of your 1,750 to your support level right here of 1,740. So targets moving higher, targets moving lower for gold. You'll get another price analysis on gold next week. So hopefully you look forward to that. Let's take a look at silver, the most beautiful metal in all the world. I do like my silver a lot. I've been in the precious metals since 2010, and I'm almost all silver personally. Now, your risk reward, your risk tolerance may be different depending on age and a whole bunch of different things going on in your life. But tell me, are you all silver? Post a comment below. Or are you all gold? Or you're a combination of the two? You kind of 50-50? What's your sort of percentage allocation? As I said, I'm probably like 95% silver. So it's my favorite metal by far. But let's see, last week, we had bottomed out. So I will check. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, we're hovering around about your 19, 18 sort of dollar level last week. And I did suggest that this next price level of 22 would be the next major one. Now, what I did put in, and what I really should have done, unless I did, I'll put a link above to last week's video. Again, I'll put that above now, and also I'll put it below in the info section. What I should have put in, and I didn't, but you can very clearly see it actually. If I put in this horizontal line right here, see this area right here of support? Look at that. Missed it. I missed it, unless I put it in then deleted it, but I don't think why I would do that. So you can very clearly see, I should have put it in there last week. My apologies, everyone. So it was very interim level of resistance right here at the $20.80, $20.90 roughly. So that is a local, very sort of intermediate time resistance level, I should say, right there. And it was a failed move. So failed move to break out of it. So a fast move back to the downside, $20.22. So again, it's within a range. You can see that range very clearly. For me, it's between $19.40 and that $22 range. Breaking up from there, as you can see, my levels won't spend too much time on silver. We've got that, see that $22 range there. Sorry, let me go back. The current range is between $19.40 to that $20.90 level. So we need to see a break above $20.90 in order for me to be confident to say we're heading back into this range. And the next upwards target would be the $22 level. Breaking down. Now, this is interesting because we did have a move down to the $19.50 level, which I had put in a level of support at around about $19.40. What, a 10-cent gap? That's not too bad. I would suggest now that if we were breaking down further, when we come back down to $19.50, $19.60, because we've already come very close to that level, I don't think that would be a level of support anymore. So I don't think you would come back down to say here and then bounce back off, because we almost touched it before. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So if we are breaking down further, my next little interim target, yeah, okay, so I'll put this one in here too. I know it's getting a little bit liney, but I'll put it right here. Can you see that? At about $18.80. So breaking below, if we were to break below the $19.40 level, I think the next little level right there would be $18.80. And of course, you've got that larger level right here of the $18.20 level, big line in the sand here, as I mentioned last week, and my target's moving lower if we break through that. And I again check last week's video for the reasons why I think it would the prices would be breaking to there if we do break down. Certainly not saying we break down to these levels, but if we did, these would be the main price targets. Check out last week's video for the reasons why. And well, I'll leave these targets just in here. You can see them. They're pretty obvious what they are, but we don't need to talk about them now. That is gold and that is silver. Let's get on to Bitcoin. I haven't talked about Bitcoin on this Insights videos. These have been going for just a little bit now. So let's take a look at it in the sort of longer term time frame. And let's take a look on the, well, I'll just do the weekly. Let's go very quickly. We'll go all the way back. Post a comment below. You don't have to give your address and you don't have to give your wallet address in particular and your mnemonic phrase or anything like that. But have you been into crypto for a while? Were you one of the big OGs back here, or did you get in after the 2013 dip? Did you get down in these levels? Did you ride the wave to 20K, or did you get in sort of this area, the post 2017, 2018 kind of area? Did you just get in recently? Post a comment below. And what do you like? Are you all Bitcoin? Are you a Bitcoin maxi? Or do you play the altcoins as well? Let us know. But what you can see here, obviously, the clear top here, 69,000K roughly in US dollar terms. The recent low of around about $17,700. And a nice little rally in recent weeks. A lot of people are calling this a relief rally. What do you think? Post a comment below. If it is a relief rally, are we done? I guess that is one of the big questions. Again, we don't give financial advice here, but let's pop in my horizontal lines. And I'm also going to show you a trial video that we did before we launched the GSS Insights just a couple of weeks ago on the Ainslie Bullion YouTube channel. So let me show you that. And I'm going to go over to here. Again, this is just a trial video. This was not produced. This was produced but not published. And this was from August the 2nd. So I'm going to just, there we go. I'll full screen that. And I'll just hit the play button. I've got that volume up, I think, pretty full. I just want you to see what I said back then. So those are my targets moving down for Bitcoin in the next week or so, if we are moving down. So 22,500 to 22,000 roughly. And of course, possibly banging up against this uptrend line right here. It just depends on when it hits. If we do find a level of support in the next couple of days and we spring back up, what are the next levels of resistance? We might need to go out to the weekly time frame to have a quick look at that. And what I can see, I'll get rid of, no, I'll keep that for the moment. If we have another green candle week, the very key level I think is very obvious to everyone. If you can see this support level right here, that's at around about your $25,500 level. And moving higher from there, if it's a crazy... There we go. So I was just calling for, and we'll go back right here. I was just calling for, if you have a look, that was that 22,500 to $22,000 level, and possibly breaking down further from there. And what we've seen is a clear support level at that first support level at 22,500. And since then, since that video, a spike almost all the way up to that. And again, this is very obvious stuff, so it's not like the world's greatest soothsayer or anything. It's very simple support and resistance lines. But I'm just making the point that I did mention it here, and it did mostly come to fruition. Had that support level at 22,500, and then in the recent number of days and weeks, a almost spike up to almost level of 25,500. Technically, on this particular index, we did top out at, what are we, the high of $25,207. So that's pretty close for jazz. I would call that near to your this level right here. So lots of lines here. Let's talk about all of them. Of course, you have this trend line right here. This is going through the recent low, 17,600 US dollars through this key level of support. This one, I ignored this one because I think you've got more levels of support right there. So I ignored that one and I used it through these right here. And you've also got this little trend line right here. Now you can see so far that has been a level of support. Let me just pop that in right there. You can see this low, $20,650 roughly through here, and so far that is a nice little support level at $23,930 roughly. So question is, are we going higher or lower from here? Let's take a look. I'm going to get my rectangular tool out. And of course, none of this is financial advice, but it's just something to keep in mind. Generally, what happens is you find levels of resistance at previous ranges. So rather than at a big spike level down or a big spike level up, it's where there's a cluster of prices. So what you can see here from around about the early May until the breakdown of middle of June. So it's kind of like middle of May, middle of June, roughly. This cluster of this cluster range. So if I pop in a rectangular tool, you can see that right there. And you can see that at sort of the level of between sort of 28,000 to 32,000 was your general range for that month of sort of middle of May to middle of June. Then we had that very fast move down to this next sort of range right here. And that range was at the low, although I wouldn't call that spike down to be included in that general range. So I'm going to do it from here. Can you see that? Let me get a little bit closer. That's a little bit better for everyone to see, hopefully. That, and I'll move that, get rid of that. Sorry about that. And I'll pop that in again. Right about here, I think is your general sort of range, right about there. And that's where we sort of consolidated around between your $18,800 and your $22,000 range. So in my opinion, not financial advice, and we could certainly just break down from here and, we can talk about the targets moving lower, but this is kind of a no man's land right here between this sort of $28,000 to $22,000 range. It looks like we are creeping higher, and for on balance of probability, and in my own personal opinion, I think we have a little bit left to go in this relief rally before it makes a decision either way. So I think it's a relief rally. Again, we don't give financial advice here, but if we are breaking up higher, you're going to see it around this kind of cluster range right here. So I think if it is a continuing of a relief rally, meaning we continue higher, your levels moving higher are going to be anywhere within that box. So I would say between 28,000 to 32,000, and it'd probably land somewhere in the middle. I do have, as I'd mentioned in this particular video right here, that trial video, this horizontal line right here, and I've got that in at $29,160, I think it is. Call it $29,000 even. But for sort of giving that range, 28 to 32 at the extreme. And that is an extreme, actually. I could even pop that down to, that even seems a bit more realistic. What do you think? Is that a little bit more realistic rather than spiking up to 32? Am I moving the goalpost a little bit here? Yep, just a little bit, but I'm doing it on the fly. So is it easier to say, or better to say, maybe between the area of 28,000 to 31,500? I think that's probably a fair call. So that is my target moving higher, 28,000 to 31,500 roughly, if this is a relief rally and we continue higher. And if we break down lower in Bitcoin, we have this trend line, as I mentioned right here. It just depends on when it hits. You also have this, again, this resistance line of 22,500, but I think you would be coming back down into this rectangular range of that 18,800 to $21,800, that $22,000 range is where we would start to see more buyers coming into the market. And if we break down further, and I will put this out on the weekly, what's the big target? If we are heading down from here, if that $25,000 recent spike is it, and I won't always do a big macro view on Bitcoin, because I will cover it probably, every few weeks, something like that. But for the first time, what's the next big level, the next big target if we are still in bear market territory, if this is a relief rally and then we come back down? Where are we looking at? I think the very key level, of course, you have to keep into account this big trend line right here. Of course, that huge trend line right there. So that would be an area of support, but I think it would be an interim area of support. So right there, it depends on when it hits. Let's say we're in the weekly time frame. If that happens in the next sort of 3, 4, 5 weeks, you'd be looking at your sort of $20,500 level as an area of support. It certainly probably would be support, because that's a big trend line right there. But if we're breaking through this trend line and it is bear market territory still, what's the big level? I think you can all see it, and I think it's pretty obvious. I think it's this one right here at your $14,000 level. That's the big, huge next line in the sand for me. And breaking down further from there, I'm going to call it at, look around your psychological $10,000 level. Let's call it around about your 10,000. I think that makes sense to most of you right there. So breaking down further, if it is the big bear market and we're still keeping on going down before the bear market is over and then it's huge accumulation, of which it will be at some particular time, if we're still waiting for the big accumulation, that's going to happen somewhere between that $14,000 mark and your $10,000 mark. I would suggest if we're going down to your $10,000 mark, that's going to be a spike rather than a cluster, if that makes sense. We're not going to cluster around the $10,000. I think if anything, we may cluster. If we're in between here and here, we'd cluster around about your 12,500 right there, but it would be a spike down to 10. I'm certainly not saying we're going to 10. I'm more favoring a spike down to your $14,000 level as the sort of bottoming-ish level before another accumulation pattern begins, and then potentially we head on our merry way back up for another 4-year cycle. That is Bitcoin. I think I've covered everything I needed to cover. So do you have questions? Do you have your own analyses that you like, as Ichimoku clouds and Elliott wave and stochastic RSIs and moving averages and all that? What do you favor for your technical analysis rather than just simple support and resistance lines and sort of range-bound clusters? What do you like? Post a comment below this video on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/Ainslie Bullion. And of course, this is the Gold Silver Standard Insights video for TA Tuesday. Tomorrow, what you're going to see is our weekly Wednesday special. That was very popular last week. We did a popular, it was a popular video, and they were for Ainslie 5-ounce silver bars. What's it going to be tomorrow? You'll just have to find out. And tomorrow's Gold Silver Standard Insights will be, of course, based on that morning's news. And if you have questions for that, you can send your questions into insights@goldsilverstandard.com. Thank you for watching. Of course, I always want you to like, share, and subscribe. And as we say here at Ainslie Bullion and Gold Silver Standard, balance your wealth in an unbalanced world. We'll speak to you soon.